Hello, I'm Jonathan Rogers. I'm the instructor for Writing with Flannery O'Connor. I love Flannery O'Connor so much. I love her so much that I wrote a biography about her called The Terrible Speed of Mercy. But the real reason I'm teaching this course is because O'Connor had a huge impact on me as a writer, especially as a fiction writer. She taught me to trust my own native tongue. She taught me the importance of using the particular and the concrete as a way of getting at the universal and the abstract. And besides being a great fiction writer, she was also very gifted at writing about fiction. Her essays in Mystery and Manners are really some of the most insightful writing about writing that you're ever going to run across. So in this course, Writing with Flannery O'Connor, I want you to benefit both from the theory that appears in her essays in Mystery and Manners and the practice, the way she put those theories into practice in her short stories. Okay, each of the 6 weeks will follow a similar pattern. You'll be reading one essay from Mystery and Manners, and I will post a 20 to 30 minute lecture about that essay. You'll also read one story from her complete stories. There will be optional readings as well that you may or may not find time for. And then I'll have some discussion questions that you can discuss online among yourselves and with me. And then you'll have a writing exercise or two every week in which you try to put into practice some of the things that we have discussed this week or in that particular week. Okay, let me give you an overview of what to expect week by week. In week 1, we'll be talking about the nature of narrative. We'll be pondering this definition that O'Connor offers in her essay, Writing Short Stories. A story is a dramatic event that involves a person because he is a person, and a particular person. That is, because he shares in the general human condition and in some specific human condition. In O'Connor's vision of story, plot unspools from character. So we start with character. We start with the specifics of a person's character, and then we see what happens as a result. Week 2 I'm calling Native Country, Native Tongue. So much of the brilliance of Flannery O'Connor derives from the fact that she so fully inhabited Milledgeville, Georgia, and she so confidently spoke the language of Middle Georgia. Now, I don't make any particular claims for Middle Georgia or for the South, even though I happen to be from Middle Georgia, from the South. The point is, O'Connor entirely absorbed the speech, the mores, everything about her place, and that found its way into her fiction. Listen to this. It is the peculiar burden of the fiction writer that he has to make one country do for all, and that he has to evoke that one country through the concrete particulars of a life that he can make believable. O'Connor's belief was that your best chance of making a place believable is to write about your own place. There are obviously some great writing out there in which a writer wasn't writing about his or her own place. But for the purposes of this week, we're going to talk about writing about our own places and speaking in our own language as a way of making story come alive. Week 3 is about using metaphor and symbol. O'Connor was a master of both metaphor and symbol, but the remarkable thing is that she somehow managed to make symbolism very organic, made symbolism grow out of the story, importing symbols and dropping them into the story. So we're going to talk a little bit about how to do that. Listen to what she says about this. In good fiction, certain of the details will tend to accumulate meaning from the story itself, and when this happens, they become symbolic in their action. So symbolic meaning bubbles up from the story. It's not imported into the story. So we're going to spend a week talking about how do you do that in your own writing. How do you learn to trust that the meaning will find its way out of the story? In week 4, we're going to talk about the role of surprise in storytelling. How do you write in such a way that the end of your story is entirely surprising and unexpected and unpredictable to your reader, and yet then in retrospect, it seems like the most natural conclusion in the world. Week 5, Mystery and Manners. One of the reasons you're a writer, I suspect, is because you're very interested in the great mysteries, in the universal. The problem is, in storytelling at least, whether that's fiction or creative nonfiction, your raw material is not the abstract and the mysterious and the invisible. Your raw material is right there on the surface. Your raw material is the concrete. So how do you write in such a way that your reader can see through the surface and down to the mysteries that are below the surface? To use Flannery O'Connor's terms, how do you portray manners in ways that reveal mystery? And finally, week 6, Faith and Fiction. O'Connor, as you probably know, was a woman of devout faith. O'Connor was motivated by the most orthodox and conventional of religious beliefs, and yet her fiction is anything but orthodox and conventional. How do you and I learn how to write that way? My goal here isn't to make you or to make myself clones of Flannery O'Connor. The name of the class is Writing with Flannery O'Connor, not Writing like Flannery O'Connor. My real goal here is to help you find your voice, to help you learn how to speak in your native tongue in much the same way that Flannery O'Connor wrote in her native tongue. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to the next 6 weeks.